For the Art and Culture Commission, roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver?
Here.
Darhovan is absent. Gregorian?
Here.
Kevanyan?
Here.
Chairperson Lee?
Here.
The agenda for the October 20th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on October 14th, 2011. Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of special meeting minutes from September 22nd, 2011 at 2 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
I just have one correction.
Sure.
On item oral communications 4 under Arlene Vidor expulsion project, it's Heidi Duckler dance with an L. It's just a proper name. I wanted to spell correctly. Thanks.
Yeah, I will amend my motion to accept with the changes that were discussed.
I second that.
Okay. Commissioners Deaver?
Yes.
Darhovan is absent. Gregorian?
Yes.
Kevanyan?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee?
Yes.
Item...
Much better. Here.
Thank you. Next item, item 3, introductions and presentations. At 3A, Art in Glendale Schools, Keppel Arts Magnet and Keppel Toll Hoover Block Party, presented by Paula Nelson, Administrator of Glendale Unified School District.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Paula Nelson. I am the Administrator for Instructional Services at Glendale Unified School District, and one of my roles is to promote arts in our schools and to help build community partnerships to support the arts in our schools in Glendale. I'm here today to introduce myself as the new liaison for the community for the arts and the school district, and also I wanted to I'll introduce myself because come, I think, your February 18th meeting, I will be bringing back, I'm sure, some very amazing pieces of artwork from our Glendale Unified School District students in the high school level to judge, have you judge them for the Tower Banner contest that we do every year. So I contacted you all as part of having that judging happening. But at the same time, I'd like to introduce 3 programs that we have at Glendale and perhaps talk briefly today with you about partnering a little bit with us for some of these programs, especially our Hoover Toll Keppel Block Art Party. You have a flyer. This is sort of just the teaser flyer. It's not very artistic, but you can see kind of the emphasis is art, and I have a video to show you about the 3 programs that, 3 of our programs, not all of our programs obviously, but 3 of our programs in Glendale. One is the Arts Attack, which is the elementary school program, and that's generously supported by our Glendale Arts Foundation, and we're always looking for additional support with our Arts Attacks through community members to come in and help the students, the elementary students, with art and art standards. The second thing I wanted to showcase for you today is the Keppel Federal Arts Magnet. So we now have a school that focuses specifically on art. Hoover High School, which is across the street from Keppel, is also working on writing an arts grant in order to create an arts academy, and Toll is also participating in that, the middle school that's across from Hoover, and the vision is to have a tri-school arts complex at some point, which is where the block party comes in, and that is a very special event every year, and I'm hoping that we can maybe see the commission get involved. So without any further ado, let me show you a little video of all those 3 things that are going on in the Glendale Unified School District. saved that chalk art for last because one of the things I was hoping to plan to seed in your thoughts is during the block party we do have chalk art, and it has come to my attention that perhaps we could partner on a contest for chalk art. We close off the entire street of Glenwood Avenue, so there's plenty of space, both white concrete and asphalt, for students to create chalk art. And I would love to talk with you more about possibly sponsoring a chalk art contest for our students for that day. I think that would be a really wonderful way for us to partner together. So, thank you very much. Thank you for letting me come in today and speak with you and show you a little bit of what's happening in Glendale. I hope to return and show you more. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. I will. As a matter of fact, I have on my calendar, I believe, not the Thursday before, but 2 weeks prior to our block party, I have on my calendar to come back, and I will bring you the in-color flyer and all of the information for the block party, and perhaps a little bit more advertising on the block party so that the community can know to come out and join us all. Thank you.
Are there, thank you. Are there any, mandatory classes for art, or it's just kind of voluntary?
That's an excellent question. In the elementary level, art is really at the discretion of the teacher and the vision of the school. It's not funded. It's not well supported, except for our Glendale Educational Foundation and the Arts Attack program, which has really brought art back to our elementary schools. In the secondary level, starting at middle school, there are art electives, and they are not mandatory in the middle school, but many students take a full battery of art classes, including design. In the high school, it's also an elective program, but the high school program does require that students take a certain amount of visual performing fine arts as part of their high school graduation requirements. And it is an A through G or a college-going requirement as well. So it's really important that we have these classes available: music, theater, visual arts, voice, vocal, and choir, that we continue to have these programs available because it is an entry for students to get into college, not to mention the fact that it is a huge part of education. In Glendale, we want to educate the whole child, and it's important that arts are part of that. And I bet you appreciate that.
Of course, yes, thank you.
Are there programs that are specifically oriented towards those that learn better through active arts participation? Because everybody has a different way of learning, and so it's one thing. It's great, everything that you're doing, so I'm just kind of curious if there's anything that you've been able to put together specifically in that arena.
We haven't really looked at that specifically, but it is very clear from our elementary arts program that we are reaching students and motivating students through art. I am a former middle school teacher in Glendale, and I know that the arts programs are huge for motivating students and reaching a different modality of learning for those students. That's really important. And then, of course, at high school, that becomes a career path for many of our students in Glendale. We have we have studios that live right next door to us that we really want to start looking at. Well, we not just start. We are in the process of making sure that our high school art programs are connected to those career-going options for students. So we're building it every year. And it's hard, though, because arts aren't funded. It's one of the first things that gets cut when there's a need to cut.
Well, both my kids go to Glen Oaks Elementary School and is very intrigued with the Arts Attack program. So I really commend the district on pushing that program. Both my kids were very excited in making some type of artwork for the viewing.
Thank you. It's a great program.
I had another thought. If there's a way in which the commission can assist as you move forward with some of these connections within the community, because one of our focuses certainly is connecting folks in the community. So when you talk about some of our creative industries, if there's ways that we can, as commissioners or as a department, work to identify individuals that maybe could be guest speakers or do guest things and make those connections more tangible, I think that would be a great place where we could intersect and assist you.
Great, thank you. Well, that's why I'm here. I wanted to introduce myself and see if we can move down that road. I think that would be a really valuable and fruitful partnership. Thank you. Thank you for letting me come in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
At 3B, Library Beyond Brand, presented by Chuck White, Community Relations Manager of Public Libraries.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Lee and commissioners and city staff for inviting me up here to talk a little bit about the library. You usually hear from the Brand Library representatives, so I'm going to try and give you a little feel about what the library does in addition to what we do at Brand Library, specifically in terms of arts and culture. We had a strategic plan that we went through a process early this year in January. Among the things that the community identified as being represented by the library, in the library, and by the staff included arts and culture, education, civic spaces, obviously, but also a Glendale identity and a vibrant downtown. So we contribute in many ways, not just to the reading public, but also to the arts. I'll give you a brief overview. I've got a little PowerPoint with some great pictures, and I'm going to try and show you how that relates to your work. I hope you'll have me back. I'll try and keep you updated on our, let's say, our renovation at the Central Library. Anyway, more on that later. This picture, I'm going to start with some real old shots. 1915, Glendale Union High School was located at the site of the Central Library that we know right now. Great old building. It lasted for a while. It went away. It became Glendale College. 1937, they actually had a little tent city out there on that property right in front of the same structures. Glendale College was there, and then later they moved up to the present site. I added a picture of a gentleman there named Ralph Walroth because he works for the library. He was among the last graduating classes at Glendale High out of those tents. He is in his mid-90s, still working for the library, still going strong. I hope he's watching today. Let's see. A little later, 1949. Now, this is across the street, kind of kitty corner. There's a senior center over there and a church. 1949. From the early teens, mid-teens, through 1973, we had a library, Central Library facility across the street from where you know it today. This went through a number of changes. It was a great-looking building. Originally an old Carnegie building in the 1914, 15. It outlived its usefulness, and the city decided to build a bigger Central Library in 1973. But look here in 1957. Again, a nice old picture. 1957. This shot was taken by a photographer named Glenn Ward, and he was a commercial photographer. We received about 100 photos from his work, mid-50s commercial photography in Glendale. Nobody's ever seen this stuff before. We have it on our library. You can find it through our library website. We have a Flickr site. You can add little comments if you know where in the world this is. This is Central Park. That round structure there, that's probably one of the entrances to the library. Down below to the far right corner, that's the adult rec center, that was there, but the rest of it indeed was a park. The library was across the street at that time. There's some new work coming. We received some bond money through redevelopment. It looks like we'll be able to continue with that project that will kind of bring this city center back in a way. There's certainly a lot more activity now in this area. The library has new neighbors across the street, not just the Americana, but the people who live in the Americana. And we're soon going to get the Museum of Neon Art there. So the new plans, we hope, will tie all that together with the library. We're still looking at orienting our front door to Harvard. If you're there, we'll have a program with 200 people in the auditorium, and there's still hundreds of people going back and forth in and out of the Americana. It's a great area for that. So it's vibrant, it's alive. So we're going to try and take advantage of that. This is it's one corner of the Central Library. Just a few months ago, Ara Oshigan, a local photographer, held an exhibit there, and for the first time ever, we put something on the walls of the library. It made it look quite a bit different. We had his artwork inside. That was a lot of fun. But that's part of our library today. And again, the future, this is it actually doesn't look like this today because there's a lot of construction in that parks area. But this is one view of the library that people have never seen. You've never seen the ARC, this gorgeous building to your right. And you'll be able, I think, to go in and out of the building right there. There won't be a parking lot there in the future. So we're looking forward to that. Last year, we had close to 1 million visitors in and out of all of our sites. We have 6 branches, Central Library and the Brand Library. 1 million people. They borrowed about 1.4 million items. Okay, that includes books, some magazines, DVDs, some cassettes, some videos. Those are going away. E-books. We have 2,700 e-books. We're going to get more. You'll be able to, in the very short future, you'll be able to say, check out an e-book, look at it on your iPad, go home, look at it on your computer, find the spot where you were, and then maybe while you're walking around with your dog at night, you can look at it again on your phone, find the spot. There's great technology available. We have to take advantage of it. We're pretty much obligated to that. We're busy. We not only have the people, but we have a lot of checkouts. I think one real neat thing about e-books, they'll never be late because they expire. So what else do we do? We have computer classes. This was just taken just the other day. It's our beginning computer class. We've had that for years now. We got a nice grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 10 years ago, and we've had computer classes ever since then. Beginning computer classes, we don't have the same people from 10 years ago. It never ends. We've added a class in Armenian. We've had classes in Spanish. They're very popular. We do work with the schools. This just happens to be a couple of photos that are I guess they're posters that are up right now that had something to do with a Brand Library exhibit, but they were teens who made posters in particular for the Verdugo skate park there. So we work with the schools. This is a jazz band from Glendale College. They performed right outside the front door. Our auditorium, many of you I'm sure have been in there, we rent that auditorium. So we have not only our library events, city events, internal city events, but we also rent it to anything from music recitals, lectures, films, screenings, and even graduations. And then, of course, our children's room and all of our children's services at our branches. I think, as much as anything, this area of our business incorporates pretty seamlessly the arts, literature, and library. You can tell by the cover of those books, they're colorful. If you open one up, big letters, they're actually spaced out for age appropriateness. Easier books or board books, you have little kids, they can eventually turn those pages, big thick things. It's a tactile sort of how do I work this? The parent reads to the child. What we do at the library, we're part of the education system in a way, but we're not a school. We teach a love of reading. Okay, that's our business. And about a third of our business, as I look at our stats, a third of the things borrowed, a third of the people who come to visit us, a third of our library card holders are kids. Up through age 14. That's a good chunk of people. We have, just before this commission aired, GTV6 ran Treehouse Tales. Again, we have a television show, but if you look at it, and they do a marvelous job at GTV6, there's a story told by one of our librarians, and then you see pictures, and you see the words. It just incorporates everything you want to teach somebody to enjoy themselves reading. Be that a book or now ebooks or what have you. This is an important part of our business. We incorporate art, songs, stories, games, play. We start with kids 6 months old. So one of our librarians describes it as fast, loud, and quick. That's how you work with a 6-month-old. But again, we're not just telling a story. We're not just reading to somebody. We are trying to model that behavior for parents. Also, the 6-month-old doesn't come by him or herself. They come with a parent. And so we show the parent, here's how you can teach your kid to enjoy themselves and love reading. More art. And one of our staff putting up our One Book, One Glendale banner. I'm going to get into kind of more adult programming now, but I'll come back to One Book, One Glendale. Our Friends of the Library group and the library work together to bring great authors to the library for adults. This is Lisa C. She's very popular. As you can tell by that massive audience, we actually put her on the main floor. This gentleman has a lot of ties to the community, Garin Hovhannissian. If you love or hate USC, well, you got to love their marching band director. He's been there 40 years. And if you love the marching band director, you got to love the horse, too. I don't know about the USC fans, but the horse was a lot of fun. More authors. Barbara Eisenberg, you may be familiar with her. She's a nationally known journalist in the arts, particularly in California. She wrote a book called State of the Arts, California Artists Talk About Their Work. Really good. She came and talked. We had Frida Lee Mock. Frida Lee won an Oscar for her documentary film about Maya Lin, who designed the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C. And that particular event was partnered with the Society of Architectural Historians here in Los Angeles area. Former District Attorney Gil Garcetti, now that he's retired, he takes photographs. He is just an avid photographer, and he's been published a number of times. This particular book, Paris Women and Bicycles, we partnered with our own bicycle coalition. So that was a neat event. An upcoming program, if you like the more physical activity, these are martial arts, in particular mixed martial arts. Big John McCarthy is going to be here next week. And as I did mention, we have a One Book, One Glendale reading event. We've got a couple of authors, one for adults, Alice LaPlante. She's written a book called Turn of Mind. I was going to bring a book to show you, but what's the point? They're all checked out. She's very popular. We have items you can check out as a book group kit. So if you have a book group, we'll check out 20 books to you. We have ebooks. You can buy this as a Kindle title. We don't have that, but you can pick it up that way. So she's coming in November. And on the children's side, for younger readers, Janet Tastian, a local author, has a real cute book called My Life as a Book. Her teenage son did the cartoons. And if you get a chance to look at that book, really funny. Especially the cartoons add quite a bit. Again, it's art. It's for older kids, so it's not a picture book, but you do see those cartoons and they add a lot. The whole thing. I've just left my phone number and the library website. There's a couple of things coming up. The library will be part of LA as Subject. It's down at USC this weekend on Saturday, and that's kind of a gathering of historians around the LA area. They're using something called History Pin. I don't know if you've heard of that. It incorporates Google Street View. So you can you can look at the History Pin site, find a photo in your area, an older one. Say in Glendale, the library has contributed a number of photos to that, and you can then walk to that general area on the street, let's say at Brand Boulevard, pull up the History Pin photo, and then use your phone to pull up today's photo. It's real interesting. We have hundreds of photos online that the community can view. So that's, again, a big part of our business. That's a lot of our culture in Glendale. It's the history that a lot of people may or may not remember. You don't have to be 95 years old. You may remember Brand Library when there were train tracks, or when the city put holiday decorations over there. But you'd be surprised at how much the same really Brand Boulevard looks, even with the Americana and some of the other buildings. You can tell where you are. It's interesting. Again, I thank you for having me. I hope you'll invite me back, and I'll keep you abreast of other events at the library.
I just want to mention that when I first moved to Glendale, I became very familiar with Central Library, and I just thought it was just a stunning place. I spent a lot of time there. It was my first library card, in back here in California. So I think you do a lot of really interesting and fabulous programming, and I actually get your emails, because I think you send out like monthly, or the library sends out monthly events listings, which is, I think, really helpful for folks as well. One thing, you had mentioned the reading program for reading out loud. I don't know if you're familiar or not. This actually might be good for the schools as well, but through the SAG Foundation, there's a Book Pals program where professional actors devote their time and they read books. And I think they actually have it available online as video downloads, and I think you can also coordinate for them to come in, like into the classrooms or maybe into the library events. I'm not sure, but it's through the SAG Foundation.
SAG Foundation.
And it's the Book Pals program.
Well, I, for one, going to LA Unified School District for all my 12 years, have always, instead of going to City of LA libraries, I've always been to the Central Library. So I know the Central Library really well.
I've heard that story a lot. Yeah.
So, I enjoy it, and thank you for all the different events that you put on there.
Very good.
It gives it a good feel when you go to the library.
We draw not just from the Glendale community, but from all over. We're one of the larger libraries. We have decent parking across the street. We have Wi-Fi. Our business changed when we got Wi-Fi. We see more and more people studying or doing business during the day than we ever have. So it's not just the book, it's the facilities. The community uses it as a gathering place regularly. We have candidate forums there. There's just a variety of things that we do.
You know, when you were showing those pictures, the old ones, I couldn't stop feeling sorry for, losing all this great cultural heritage and the architecture. I don't know what we were thinking then, but I hope we will never think the same again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
some of the buildings were absolutely great for the time
gorgeous,
and everything.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope you can look at our website and just sort of see what there was. Our photos go back way back definitely before Glendale was a city, before any of this was incorporated. We have photos of the dirt roads and the train tracks running up and down Glendale. It's fascinating, and the place has changed. The place has definitely changed. It still has a character, and we hope we're part of that and kind of keeping not just the tradition, but moving it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Commission may question the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. Staff may refer the matter for investigation and report.
I have 2 cards. One is Kathy Billings from the Brand Library.
Hello. I haven't been here in a long time. It's nice to be back. I'm just here today to give you some updates on what's happening at Brand Library, what has been happening, what's coming up soon. As always, you can go to our website, www.brandlibrary.org, to see what events we have happening. First thing I want to mention is that we had a really fantastic concert on Sunday, October 9th. We partnered with the World Festival of Sacred Music, which is a program that hosts 32 concerts in 2 weeks in Los Angeles County. They actually reached out to us wanting to partner with us and use our recital hall space. We had an enthusiastic full house. The pictures aren't great, but we were packed. And this particular concert, we had 2 different groups performing, representing North and South Indian musical heritage and sort of fused with modern jazz. So it was really interesting and really well attended. The next thing I wanted to just mention was actually a rental that we had on the evening of Wednesday, October 12th. The Brand Library Art Galleries were rented to host a pontifical forum with His Holiness Aram I. The theme of the forum was the Armenian Church, youth, and general concerns of the Armenian people. And the presentation of the Pontiff's latest book also took place, which is called Taking the Church to the People. And there were over 250 people there in the gallery. And these are the kind of events that we love to see happen because we are getting an audience into the gallery space that maybe wouldn't have been there otherwise. So it's wonderful. They're there for their event, but they're also getting to see a really fantastic exhibition, which is what is on now. Brand 40, our annual juried exhibition. This is the 40th annual juried exhibition that the Associates of Brand Library have hosted. Is on view through next Friday, the October 28th. We had a juror, Peter Frank, who's a well-known art critic. The exhibition includes 93 works inspired by the theme entrances and exits. You can see this is images from the opening reception. It was very well attended, and this is always a popular show because there are so many artists represented that people are excited to see their family members' works, their friends' works in the show. The next thing I want to mention is oops, sorry, I forgot to mention that. There was a really nice review in the Glendale News Press of the exhibition, so you can either get to that from our website or by searching in the Glendale News Press website. The next event is actually tonight. This is an event hosted by the Associates of Brand Library, The Search for Spirits. Gabriel Graham will discuss the evolution of late 1800s spiritualism into the modern paranormal investigation movement. This interactive presentation will highlight the history of the Brand Library and the Victorian Doctor's House, which is also, as you know, in Brand Park, as well as techniques used by current paranormal researchers. So happy Halloween. This is their little thing. So that should be fun, and that's tonight. The next thing I want to mention is next Thursday night, we have a wonderful art historian, a PhD from UCLA, who has written a book called The Empire of Death, A Cultural History of Ossuaries and Charnel Houses. He visited over 30 countries to do his research over a period of a number of years. The publication is, actually, I think is officially published October 27th, the same day I think it comes out. You might be able to get it on Amazon already. In any case, it's a wonderful scholarly but really well illustrated publication from the publisher Thames and Hudson. And he's going to be talking about, again, his book, his experience doing the research in over 30 countries. We expect this to be a very full house because he has had a lot of press about this. He was interviewed by Madeline Brand on KPCC, and he also has an interview on the 26th with KPFK. There's also been lots of things in print. So we're hoping for a big crowd, but it should be really interesting, and I welcome you to attend.
Where is the venue for this?
Brand Library. It'll be in the recital hall. And last, I'm going to mention the things we have coming up with the LA Opera. As you probably know, we have opera talks that the LA Opera Speakers Bureau offers during the year. The next talk is coming up on Saturday, November 12th at 2 o'clock. That's going to be their specialty talk. We don't have a topic yet, but they often have speakers come from different departments, the costume department or the makeup department or the orchestra, something different than just talking about the opera that they're performing. So watch our website for that subject to see what it will be. And then last, on Saturday, December 3rd, we have Così fan tutte in concert. Performers from the Domingo Thornton Young Artist Program will present a semi-staged and abridged version of Così fan tutte, one of Mozart's most popular operas. The Young Artist Program provides 2 to 3 year paid residencies at the Los Angeles Opera for singers and pianists of exceptional talent who are transitioning from their academic training to professional careers in opera. So these are some of the performers, and they're young and fun, and it's really a wonderful free concert and opportunity to see some very talented performers for free in a lovely space. So we welcome you to join us on Saturday, December 3rd. And that is all I have to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for all that wonderful entertainment to come. Make sure everybody join the library and go there and enjoy. Next item, please.
We have one more card.
Oh, one more card, sorry. Corinne Kalustian from the Caravan Culture Center. And Edgar?
I'll just be here myself. Okay.
Since he's here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you very much for the opportunity you've granted us to present our upcoming event, which is on November 12th. It's a Saturday here in Glendale at the legendary Alex Theater. I would like to give you a brief introduction. Actually, it won't be an introduction because we've been here several times throughout the years, and the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission has always supported us, and you've always been a helping hand, and it only solidifies our mission, which is to present dance not only to our students but to the community as well. And this year, in marking our 10-year anniversary, we have a gala performance, and it's going to be presented by not just the students of the studio, but we have many guests who are joining us from all over the world. We have former artists from Vienna State Ballet, from the National Ballet of Armenia, Israel National Ballet, Los Angeles Ballet Theater, a couple of local companies here in Glendale and Burbank, Creations Dance Theater, and as well as solo acts. We take pride in the work that we do, not because we offer art to children, but the background of what they are dancing. So that encompasses information about the composer, information about that form of dance, why a certain movement is the way it is. So it's not just the physical act of what they're doing. There's a lot of emotion involved. there is a lot of background information that these children take and hopefully will present on stage. A lot of them for the very first time. We have dancers as little as 2.5-year-olds that are going to be on stage, and all the way up to professionals who have danced on many stages of the world. So having said all of that, I would like to extend our invitation to the council as well as the people of Glendale, the commission, who again has supported us. We've always received recognition from the commission, and I believe the work that we put out is only solidified by the appreciation that we get, not just from our audience, but from organizations, local organizations who keep us going. With that, we have a very brief video that will hopefully give you an understanding of what you will see at the Alex Theater on November 12th. So with that, again, I thank you very much for this opportunity. We have extended our invitation to each of you personally, but if we can provide any other information or if you have any questions that you would like answered at this time, I'd be more than happy to assist. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe the gentleman behind you is not only your husband, but he's an award-winning international dancer, correct?
Yes.
Why don't you briefly introduce him to us? Just 2 sentences.
Well, he is my husband, but more importantly, he is from Vienna State Ballet, won prestigious awards, won bronze at the International Ballet Competition in Orlando, won silver at the ballet competition in New York. So aside from providing his talent to the children of Caravan Dance Studio, he's doing his own thing as a guest performer for many companies, as well as still competing at professional level competitions.
And he's a director of Caravan Dance
He is
Studios.
the director, yes. It's actually a father and son team now. Used to be his father, Ruben Nicolian, and he's following the father's footsteps. So it's a duo now.
You know, I have been to your past performances, and I think the quality is absolutely great. I commend you for, in these very hard times, to arrange programs like that. I'm looking forward to November 12th, and let me tell you a little secret. I was supposed to be out of town on that time, but I've rearranged my traveling plans just to make sure that I'm going to be present there. So
We appreciate
I'm really
that
looking
so
forward
much.
to it.
Thank
I
you
think it's a
very much.
great company, and I recommend, and I actually recommend everyone to rush to Alex Theater and get the tickets before they are sold.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, action items. 5A1, adoption of annual work plan for fiscal year 2011-2012.
Chairperson Lee, Commissioners, this item was presented to the Commission at the September meeting as a discussion item. Today, based on your input and comments, we prepared the final draft, and it's attached as Exhibit 1. Listed projects also include the estimated cost and the timeline for each project. I believe we had a very lengthy discussion about each project at the last meeting. If you feel comfortable with the annual work plan, you can go ahead and approve it. unless you have any new additions, if you like to add or remove an item, or, of course, if any other questions about the annual work plan, I'll be happy to answer it.
A couple of questions. Item number 6, Cultural Affairs e-newsletter. It says currently on hold, which is understandable. Then it says timeline quarterly and cost $420 annually or $168 every 6 months. There is a savings in there, which is good. But can you elaborate on what this whole thing is about?
Sure. E-newsletter was started last March of 2010, and we start working with Constant Contact company, which is a marketing organization. He provides online marketing services. So if you produce the e-newsletter through this company, then you pay monthly fee, or you can pay it by semi-annually or upfront the whole fee. So we thought it should be purchased. It's about $35 a month or $168 every 6 months. That was the decision why we decided to pay about 25% savings to go ahead and purchase 6 months at a time. Actually, right now, because the e-newsletter is on hold, we have contacted them and put it hold on our payments. So as of now, we are not paying anything, not until we will start producing the e-newsletter again.
I believe we...
That answers your question.
Yes, I did. Well, for me, it's a little strange that for a shorter period we get 25% discount, for a longer period we pay more. That's strange, but if that's how they do business, that's fine with me. I do remember receiving this e-newsletter, and it was quite well written, well composed. Everything was fine in there, and I would like to see it continue. So,
May I jump in on that too?
Yeah, please.
Because it does note that I worked closely with Ms. Marashian on this, and would the intention, however, is for all of the commissioners to be involved in that. So I just didn't want it to seem like it was something I was just sort of running on my own in any way. But I think it's a really worthwhile way to continue to connect with our community.
Well, maybe this is the best time to remind the Commission that it takes a lot of time to collect information and put together the e-newsletter, edit it, and write introduction at the beginning. And we, again, will encourage the Commissioners to get involved. One of the reasons that we put it on hold is because we didn't have enough time to produce the e-newsletter regularly as it was planned originally. So hopefully, we already talked about this with Commissioner Deaver to start the e-newsletter beginning November 2011, next month, and hopefully other commissioners will be able to help in with informations and any way you can that you think it's important to include in the e-newsletter. Again, the newsletter will be produced every 3 months, quarterly, not every month. So it will give you enough time to gather information that you feel it's important and it's worth to share with the community.
Who decides its content? I mean, who is the editor of this?
Staff collects the information and shares with Terry. Commissioner Deaver has volunteered to help staff in this process. However, sometimes she brings her own very valuable information that can benefit to the community, like insurance for artists. I remember now one of them. But and then she does the most editing for, and I can give you credit for designing also the
All right. I would really like this to continue. I'm not quite sure what the other commissioners feel about it. The next, if this issue is done, the next issue I had a question was the open studio tour, and I know we discussed this at length last time. What I would personally like to see is in some kind of a format, hopefully with the participation of some art organizations and artists from the community. I would really like this to continue and be part of the events, and I will tell you why in my report later on when I attended the Pasadena Art Night a couple of weeks ago, and it was really fabulous. So I think we should continue this tradition of Open Studio Tour, but I do understand my colleagues' concerns, and I think we just because we haven't found the right formula, we shouldn't really scrap this thing altogether. We should find the right formula to move forward with this.
I think it would be best for us to come back to the Commission and have a special report, have this item as an discussion item alone at the November meeting, and then we can hear your views and go from there.
That's a good idea. In addition, other than that, I think this plan is great. I like it. I think based on the circumstances and our resources and possibilities, this probably, if you guys, the staff and the director, if you guys think that we can implement this, I like it, and I would move to approve it with the possibility of that Open Studio Tour discussion for next month.
I have some comments, if I...
Yeah, sure.
You go first.
Sorry, no, please.
I just want to make a comment on the Open Studio Tour. Staff's intent is to complete discussions with an art organization or two to define their role so that we could hopefully come out of it with more of a facilitation role. But our intent is still to have an Open Studio Tour program, and we just need to figure out what the different roles are.
Well, that's wonderful. I really appreciate that, and I think that's a good thing to do. There are certain things that we have to do, like the city facilities, maybe a beeline for that night, maybe the routing of it, the map and everything else. We've been doing that traditionally, and although we need a lot of manpower, but we probably need to kind of define whose role is what and where. But again, if we get the leading role and leave the rest of more the organizational things to some organizations, that's basically will, in my opinion, solve the concerns of my colleagues on the dais. So, but that's a good thing. If we can come back as in November, that will be reasonable.
Yes, that will be the best idea for us to come back. Altogether, we might even need to revisit the format of the Open Studio Tour. Since the Brand Library Art Gallery is going to go through a renovation, we know that one important element will be out of that project. So it needs to be discussed.
You know when they are starting? They were supposed to
Next
start
year,
early
yeah.
2010. I mean, from what I remember, it was probably February or March of 2010, and for some obvious reasons, it was kind of postponed. But do you know if they have a definite date?
Yes.
Chairman Lee, Commissioners, their schedule is to begin construction in April of 2012. So it's coming up.
So the next Open Studio Tour will be affected by that, definitely.
Yeah, and just for your information, we are in discussions with the Library Division on the feasibility of using the Chevy Chase Library as an alternative site for a lot of our parks programming at Brand Studios, and so there's probably potential to incorporate that as part of the Open Studio Tour in lieu of the Brand Library's inavailability.
When you say Chevy Chase, you mean the Adams Square one or the one in the canyon?
The one in the canyon.
Next to the fire station, or part of the fire station.
I have a question with regard to the solicitation of organizations to potentially be the partner by which we can facilitate from the city's standpoint. Will that be part of what is coming to us in November potentially, or in the future? Because I'm assuming that it's going out in an informal type of RFP process or something maybe more specific to organizations in town, so that we have an understanding of, I guess, just how the process is going to unfold.
Yes, Chairman Lee, Commission members, right now it's in the form of informal discussions. One of the things that Rep. Sameh and I plan to come back with is a list of the more commonly known prominent art organizations in our community, and what they do, what their plans are in comparison to the Arts and Culture Commission, and which agencies have indicated that they would have capacity to take on a greater role in coordinating programs and the promotion of the arts with the Arts and Culture Commission. And so we'll come back with a more thorough report.
I have some comments on other pieces of the work plan. Number one, obviously, our monthly meetings, and I don't know if it necessarily be appropriate, but since I look at the work plan as being kind of a guideline to go back to, I think it's important for us as a commission to be more communicative outwardly, as well as folks coming to the commission. But we had talked at some point about doing more quarterly or biannually, going before council, just to let them know what's going on. And I'm wondering if we could kind of write that in there as well, just so we don't lose track of that. So that was one thought that I had. And also, we have a large section of other, because we know things that come up. But one piece, that as we're moving, hopefully, potentially, towards this more policy-making role in the community, I'm not seeing a lot of specific opportunity in this plan that addresses things like a public art master plan, cultural planning, cultural resource building, so that we as a city, we're helping to provide, we're part of that infrastructure. And I'm just not seeing that as part of the plan, but I know that it's, certainly for me, it's a priority, and would love to see that spelled out in here, so again, that we're not losing track of that. And I think if we are being able to maybe reduce our participation in the annual studio tours, we might be able to supplement a little bit with some of that more resource-based, infrastructure-based work when we're not actually doing the programming of the open studio tours. And also, as part of that, just another thing I'm not really seeing here is something about like marketing and outreach, so that we have, we're talking about the website and our newsletter, but having some other plan in place so that we can better communicate with the community and others what it is that the commission is involved in, what the city itself is involved in with regard to arts and cultural activities and planning and resources. I believe those were all my thoughts. Oh, well, this may come up later as well, but also October, having an opportunity to coordinate any of our events, for instance, with the National Arts and Humanities Month, which falls in October, through the Americans for the Arts, having something we recently were able, we'll talk about it later, but we're able to get a proclamation, and being able to have something like that on an annual plan. So again, we're planning ahead to be able to coordinate any of our events and thoughts around a larger around another opportunity, so it just draws a little bit more attention to things, if that all makes sense.
If I may, Chairman Lee, Commissioners, those are all, in staff's opinion, excellent suggestions, and we'll go ahead and add those to our list in our work plan. We can easily make quarterly or bi-monthly updates to the City Council at the council meetings. You're absolutely correct. We should list policy initiatives as part of our work plan, and as we define what those initiatives are that we should be working on, we'll come back with periodic reports and updates on that, and then we'll list marketing and outreach, just so that we don't lose sight of that as part of our core mission and work plan for the Commission.
Thank you.
So with that, I make the motion to approve this based on the suggestions that was made.
I will second that.
Commissioners Deaver?
Yes.
Chair Hovhannissian is absent. Gregorian?
Yes.
Kevanyan?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee.
Yes.
5A2, approval of Diamond Awards for Achievement in the Arts Project and the award ceremony date.
Diamond Award is one of the projects that was well supported by the Commission. And today we are requesting the Commission to approve the project and specifically to pick a ceremony date, the award ceremony date. The planning process for this project will start backwards from the date, and there are several important activities that will take place once we know that this project has been approved by the Commission. One of the most important parts, every area of the planning is important. However, in the first stage, we have to update the nomination forms and the guidelines, and we'll come back to the Commission for your approval. And then we will publish the opportunity and to let the community know about the Diamond Award nomination opportunities. Then create a database for the applicants who are submitting their applications. Judges will be selected from the community and bring the pool of judges list to the Commission for your approval. The last phase of this project will be organizing the award ceremony. As you know, this is a free public event where artists, art organizations, businesses, and community members get nominated and receive awards in a public ceremony. So we request that you approve the project and pick a date for the ceremony, award ceremony. On my calendar, I marked May 31st. Originally, in the report, it says May 17 or 24th. However, the third Thursday of the month is a commission meeting, so either we have to, anyway, you decide.
May 31st, what day is it?
May 31st, it's Thursday again.
Thursday.
It gives us enough time to prepare for the ceremony.
Is that enough time?
It depends how many nominations we will get and how soon we will let the public know about the Diamond Award project. So if we start publicizing this event in early December and have a deadline by February, if we get enough nominations, May will be okay. But if we don't get enough nominations, then it has to be postponed. Without having the winners, we cannot organize the Diamond.
Well, when I first saw these dates, I have to admit, I thought it was pretty aggressive, and was wondering what, if we could do the planning and the outreach and the collection during the spring, and then actually, I know it's outside of this fiscal year, but doing the actual event itself in the fall or so of 2012, rather, just so that there's not such a crunch time as a lot of things are sort of in flux over the next number of months. It just seemed tight to me.
Actually, I agree with my colleague, and my main concern is, which I didn't see in the general plan, is do we have the dates for these different events that we are doing coordinated? In addition to what there is, we participate in MIM, which is definitely in April. We participate in Unity Fest, which is in October. So MIM, and then Open Studio Tour in May, and then Diamond Award somewhere there. I think we should have a better picture of the dates, and each one should be probably at least a couple of months apart from the other one, and not only for us to give time from now now to organize it properly, but also to have some kind of a gap between different events so that we can breathe and sit back and reflect and move forward. So May, I agree with my colleague. I think it's a little aggressive, and also I don't know when we decide to do the open studio tour. So
Well, Open Studio Tour is on hold right now, but all the other projects on your annual work plan are priority for the Commission. And as I could, when I was planning the staff hours for this project, I thought May, it is very aggressive, I agree. And I also not considered the fact that last time we had a helper, Richard Espinoza was still working with us. So it is going to be very tight. But MIM or Unity Fest are secondary to our work plan. We are not directly involved. It will be up to the Commission. We can try. I will recommend that we start publicizing and start getting the nominations. And if we don't have enough time, then we'll go ahead and postpone the awards ceremony. My suggestion will be to have the ceremony event in October, which is a National Arts and Humanities Month. That this way we will have enough time. We should start with May, end of May,
we should start with May. I thought
and
you
start
just said
planning. We should start our planning process, having the award ceremony date as of May 31st, and publicize the event to the public and start getting the nominations. If we have enough nominations and the judges, then organizing the event will be possible by the end of May. My only concern is that we have a very limited time to get enough nominations based on our last year's experience.
I'm missing something. I thought you said October to have the awards ceremony would be good. So when is May coming
That's
in?
a second choice.
Oh, okay.
If you want to decide October,
I would preferably, if there's a question about whether it's possible and not wanting to stress you out and wanting to make sure we're getting our other priorities and not knowing what's going to happen on the public, to me, it would be safer to say, let's do it in October, start it whenever we need to start the planning and the outreach to make that achievable, but rather than change the date or be kind of inconsistent about it in a public arena, which I think could reflect badly, I would rather just go with a safe choice.
I absolutely agree, and I ask you one more time. I know, based on our past involvement with Unity Fest, do you think we can handle both Unity Fest and the award
they're
ceremony?
not involved with Unity Fest.
Or not?
We have been in the past, though.
Or not.
So we have not been this year.
Not
Or
this
in
year,
the
not
past.
last year.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Then October is a much better date than May, I would say.
Is there any preferred date in October?
Any day will be fine. The whole October month is the arts and national arts and
Because I'm about
humanities.
that close to making that motion. So I just, what's the possible dates that we have in front of us?
For October?
Are there, does anybody have a calendar?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm going with the first one, Ms. Marashan, so I'll warn you. Whatever the first date that you say is, that's the one I'm
What
going to...
calendar are you looking
Like
for,
to do it-
Commissioner
Or
Kevin?
just for October. Is
First
Well,
Thursday?
2012?
Would like to do
Yes.
Thursday?
What do you need?
First, no?
Just one of the Thursdays, because right now we're looking at Thursday dates, correct?
We
Does it have to be
We
Thursday?
have to double check with Unity Fest.
Does it have to be Thursday?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Normally,
Prefer
Unity
weekend.
Fest is on the second weekend of October.
Because
It is too early to say what kind of events are planned for October, and we don't want to...
So shall we say let's do it in October and we decide the exact date later on?
that's fine with me. I mean, Because I don't see this working in May. We tried that we had to postpone, last time we did the Diamond Awards, we had to postpone the deadline like 5 times. I mean, it was getting ridiculous at that point. So I don't think we have a chance at, wow, I must be angry or something, I don't know. I don't think we have a chance of making this deadline. There's just...
So let's say it October, and then we decide the exact date when we know the nominations, when we know when it's...
We don't need to have exact date as of now.
Just
as long
October.
as it's in October, we know in October.
Then I move that we approve the plan for the Diamond Awards with the change in the date to October 2012.
I second that.
To be decided, of course.
Okay. Commissioners Deaver?
Yes.
Chair Hovhannissian is absent. Gregorian?
Yes.
Kevanian?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee.
Yes.
5A3, approval of the amended student art display policy as an extension of lifelong learning program.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Lee, members of the Commission, staff, the public. Sorry, you can't hear me. My name is Teresa Alexanian, Administrative Analyst for the Community Services and Parks Department. Last month, we brought before the Commission the student art display policy as an extension of the lifelong learning program, which would basically provide free space to students taking classes through the art program, through the lifelong learning program, with the department and instructors providing classes. And the Commission had some great feedback on some revisions, amendments, approved it pending some amendments, and we have amended the policy and added some additional language to the contract or the agreement, and also added signature lines on the application. So we brought it back for Commission review and final approval of the amended policy. Just to highlight some of the changes, we added in the approval criteria section language that basically says that maintenance that the city may have to perform before, during, or after the installation will be one of the criteria used in evaluating the art piece. Under the responsibility of the exhibitor, we added that art not picked up will be treated as unclaimed property as part of the Glendale Municipal Code, or as it's stated in the Glendale Municipal Code, which basically says it will be turned into the police department and handled accordingly, just like any other unclaimed property that's found in the city. Under reception, we added language that states the use of the facilities for receptions is subject to terms and conditions contained in the department policy for community buildings, which would define, the type of food and what kind of use, cleanup. And so instead of listing it in the policy, we just referred that back to an existing policy. If the Commission has any questions on the revisions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same as it was last month with the with a little bit of modifications. So we did present it to the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission, and they approved it pending approval from the Arts and Culture Commission on Monday. So, yes.
I will move approval.
Second.
Commissioners Deaver?
Yes.
Chair Hovhannissian is absent. Gregorian?
Yes.
Kevanian?
Yes.
Chairperson Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Good job.
Next item, 5B discussion items. At 5B1, status update by Chair Lee and Commissioner Deaver on the meeting with Mayor Friedman regarding the future role of the Arts and Culture Commission.
I was invited a couple of weeks ago to join in with Mayor Friedman and city staff, along with Commissioner Deaver. I'm not sure the origin of the meeting, but I have a feeling it's Mayor Friedman's appointee is Commissioner Deaver, and I was just asked to join as a chair. So I'm going to pass that over to Commissioner Deaver so she can give you more insight.
I would just say that I think that we all acknowledge. There's been a lot of discussion about the role of the commission in the city and how we can be more helpful and how all that might unfold. And I think it was an opportunity for the mayor and staff and to have us present to be able to talk a little bit about the different goals that people have and ideas about it. And the only things that I would say, I think it was a very positive meeting. I think there's a lot of, I felt that there was a lot of support, certainly for the commission and for the work that we're doing, and it seemed in alignment with what we've been talking about in a public forum. I will say one of the things I thought was really great is that the mayor had talked about really wanting to see the arts and cultural arts and culture being holistically integrated throughout the city, so that we're not talking about just putting kind of Band-Aids on things and doing a project here or there, but that it really becomes part of the vernacular of the city in all departments. And to that, I think she's been pretty public about the interest in seeing the commission fill a policy and advisory role for the city in all things arts and culture, and I think that would continue to be supported in that conversation. And moving certainly away from the actual hands-on programming, because we don't have the budget and the staffing to be able to do that, which is how things like with the open studio tours, that discussion is unfolding and things in the future, whereas we might have ideas and suggestions for the city that we think would be really beneficial, and how that then plays out is kind of part of the ongoing discussion of how we identify those that we can partner with, and so we can be a co-sponsoring entity. And that, and so I think that conversation is just sort of ongoing, and I just was comforted that it's an intelligent, thoughtful conversation, as we would expect that's happening, and that we were invited to participate at that level, and I would expect that would continue in the future as things unfold. And I think that as the discussion centers around what our actual mission and our goals and our purpose is, and then how following that, kind of how structurally that will take place, how the foundation of that will work. It's sort of a next step, I think, to come out of it. Those are my thoughts, and to communicate to you all what we learned.
I have a comment. When I saw this on the agenda, I was kind of bothered, actually, a little bit, because we've had issues in the past where, let's say the chair of a commission has gone and talked to a city council person or even the mayor or whatever. So we kind of set a precedent with that, and we kind of drew the line. And I think that all of us here are aware of that situation that had happened and how it was handled. And then for that to happen again was kind of like, for me, a slap across my face, because I don't have a problem with any one of my colleagues going and talking to their appointees. I have no problem. I can go talk to Frank Quintero every day, and he wouldn't say no to me. We would have a conversation about whatever it was. Me telling him my ideas, him telling me his ideas. That's fine. But as soon as you involve another commissioner, who is the chair of the commission, who is looked upon as having, really there is no other difference other than the chair just looks at the agenda before everybody else. So but is looked upon from the community standpoint as somebody who's in a higher place than the other commissioners, in a hierarchical standpoint. And then on top of that, to have the directors of several departments sitting in on that meeting, that doesn't sound like a regular old, here's my ideas kind of meeting to my ears. And that bothers me a lot. Because what that does is, A, it creates a hierarchy within our commission. That means that the rest of us are not worthy of the mayor's time, nor the staff's ideas. That's what that tells me. Because what should have happened, in my opinion, if the mayor is going to I'm more than willing to listen to anything that the mayor has to say, or the city councilman, or the staff. I think I've shown that through my behavior on the dais and in private and public meetings. So why couldn't that have been given to all of us? And why a select few with directors of departments? That bothers me. That creates a hierarchy. That means that the rest of us, are we not worthy of the information? Are we going to mishandle the information? I don't understand that. And I also want to know who called this meeting to with these groups of people. Who called that meeting together?
Chairman Lee, Commissioners, if I may, my understanding is that the mayor called this meeting, and the mayor, of course, invited the chair of the commission, and I would beg to differ with you a little bit. I think the role and the status of the mayor is a little greater than the way you described it. Our department and I currently provide support to 3 other Title II commissions, and it is common and expected that whenever communication needs to take place between either the city manager's office or the councilman's or mayor's office, that the media, that the chair is the spokesperson for the respective commission. I've been in situations where the media has been calling other commissioners wanting information, and they've chosen that their policy is that all of that gets funneled through the chair, and the chair decides if the chair is qualified to answer those questions or to hand it off to another commissioner. So personally, I think that was appropriate, and I also think it was appropriate to also include the appointee of the mayor. If it was Frank Quintero, he would have, calling the meeting, he would have appointed you. And if Councilman Quintero asked myself and the library director to be in that meeting, we would have gone, because he's our boss and he provides us direction. Plus, having more than 2 commissioners meetings would have to be noticed. It would be a Brown Acted meeting, and so we didn't want to have a Brown Acted public meeting either. So that's what transpired, and again, the expectation is that subsequent to that meeting, the chair and the appointee, whose council member they met with, would report back to the rest of the commission, and that's what they've done.
If I might say, I did not talk about what the mayor's role was as opposed to the council, city council members. What I was saying is the chair of the commission. And yes, you're right, and which actually even further is bothers me, because the chair is the spokesperson of the commission. So what if during that meeting, Chairman Lee had said something, said one of his own ideas, and that was misinterpreted by some other person? I'm giving an example. I'm not saying he did or did not at all. I'm not saying that. But that's a danger that is created by something like this. And just because it's convenient, so we didn't have to Brown Act the meeting. So just because it's convenient, so we should have these little pocket meetings? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
May I just add something to that first?
Just one more comment. Commissioner Deaver was there, who could serve as a check and balance to anything that the chair might report out that Commissioner Deaver would feel is inaccurate or misrepresented. And that's the advantage of having 2 commissioners instead of just one at that meeting.
But that still doesn't make sense, because the checks and balances is having 5 of us and having a majority vote, not one and another.
In an open public meeting, it is.
Exactly, and what I feel is that I have no problems if Commissioner Deaver went in by herself and had a meeting about every single policy that, or every single point in our ordinance. I don't have a problem with that at all. That's totally fine with me. But when you involve another commissioner who happens to be the chair of that, and like you said, Mr. Duran, the spokesperson of our commission, I have an issue with that, because that makes it takes it beyond just a regular meeting with somebody that appointed you, and then to have the director of departments, several departments, and of course we all know what kind of conversations are happening about the future of the Arts and Culture Commission. Is it going to change departments? Is it not going to change departments? I'm like shocked how that doesn't ring wrong, or the sirens went off instantly in my head when I read that staff report, when I found out who was at that meeting. Because that for me is like, okay, so they're basically deciding, I don't know what happened, I don't know what was said during that meeting, and I'm not accusing anybody of saying anything like this, But that meeting could have decided what happened with our commission. I don't know that. I don't expect anybody to come to our dais and report on that. I have no idea what happened. This is the problem that happens with meetings like this. And I thought we had set the precedent the last time. We made a pretty big deal about it. And it was myself, Commissioner Wagner. We made a pretty big deal about that. And I was hoping that that wouldn't happen again. And it did. And I'm shocked. What do I do now? What does that mean for me? That I don't have a place on this commission? Go ahead, Commissioner. Go ahead.
As far as I'm concerned, the mayor, being the highest elected official in the city, can, and when necessary and whenever he or she feels, should call a meeting to discuss any subjects that are the city's business. So there is no question about the mayor's role in here and how the meeting was called. And I understand that it was the mayor who initiated the meeting. There's no problem with that. When it comes to the open and public meeting, we know there are quite often ways to respect the Brown Act and still have a closed meeting of a commission or any body, city body. So we could have gone that route, and instead of an open public meeting and all the Brown Act and the tree and etc., we should have gone through the closed meeting if necessary. However, the important thing that I feel my colleagues' frustration, and I probably could say somewhat share with him, are the actual subject matters discussed and whether these subject matters were previously discussed in the commission so that they would represent the views of the commission. Let's not forget, we are talking about an appointee of the mayor, and that's fine, and the chair, and that's fine, but Mr. Quintero, Mr. Manoukian, and Mr. Najarian also have appointees to this commission. And their views through this commission and their appointees should be heard also. And I think that's where the problem comes, and that's where I do have a problem. We don't know what the subjects were. It was not a public meeting. It's not going to be made public. There are no minutes of the meeting. However, it is bothersome that, with all due respect to the chair and to Commissioner Deaver, and I have 100% confidence in both of them, but they really don't know if a certain subject matter came up, they don't know what their colleagues on the dais think, because we have not discussed that. So whatever goes in front of the mayor or in that meeting is the ideas of our two very capable colleagues, still not the idea of the commission. And that's where the problem comes. And also, it could have been nice and courteous to contact the other commissioners and just to say there might be some kind of a meeting like this, but because of the Brown Act or whatever, or maybe the mayor wants to talk to just one person or whatever, it's not. We were kept in dark until the package arrived. And that is another bothersome issue that is happening here.
Chairman Lee, Commissioners, if it helps, I would summarize what was discussed in that meeting as an expansion and an extension of what was discussed in the council meeting before the full council and the meeting that all of you attended. And so it was a further refinement of some of those views that were expressed. In terms of what kind of meetings qualify for closed door or closed session meetings, there are only two types of meetings that qualify for that, and Mr. City Attorney, if it's okay with you, maybe you could define what's eligible for closed session meetings. Otherwise, all discussions with a quorum have to be open public meetings.
Chair Lees and Commissioners, generally for closed sessions, and this is just a general summary, and usually involves threatened, or there's a couple categories, threatened or actual pending litigation, employment issues, or real estate negotiations. Those are the most common exceptions to the Open Meetings Act, and in this case, under these facts, I don't think there would have been an exception to the open, that you could have conducted it in closed session with all members present.
But we have had closed sessions in the past where none of these subjects and another subject was discussed by the Commission.
My recollection is, and I've only been here a couple of years, that there was a closed session meeting, but it had to do with an employment issue of a staff member here, and that was about 4 years ago.
Let's just forget even the closed session. What happened to the study session that we were all promised by City Council? Did I mishear that during the meeting, or was there talks about a study session or a joint meeting between the City Council and I think
you
misspoke
missed
about that.
the council's meeting when we presented a report to the council about the role of the Arts and Culture and the future of the Arts and Culture Commission. And there was no talk about putting together another study session with the City Council.
In either case, that would have remedied the problem if and again, there's nothing wrong about what Mayor Friedman did. I think that there was, and again, she's been a great supporter of the arts. That's not the issue. That is not the issue. The issue is just what the situation brought up. I think it's like when you get really tasty food, but the presentation is bad, it does not look appetizing, for as great as it can taste. I think that's the issue. That's more of the issue. And again, Commissioner Gregorian makes a really great point about we already had discussed most of there was nothing else for us to really discuss. However, our colleagues might have been asked the question that they could have given an answer, basically, and through Chairperson Lee, basically representing the Commission. That's a point of discretion that I have to take for my own integrity and all of our integrity. Because if one person can answer for all of us in a private meeting, then what are we here for?
But,
at the end of the day.
I mean, to me, though, it is incumbent upon the responsibility, and we sit in these positions knowing that responsibility. I've never gone into a meeting on a one-on-one basis and not said, I'm only speaking for myself. I have been referring people to the open session that we had in which we discussed these topics. And I didn't feel in the invitation of that meeting or in the content of that meeting that questions were being posed to us in any type of fashion where there was an expectation that we would be talking for the Commission and what we think the Commission should do. I think it was an attempt to make sure that in what was happening, we weren't entirely left out, and it was an opportunity for us to be able to share kind of the thoughts, which I think many have been public. I didn't hear anything new or surprising. I think a lot of it's been talked about at council or been talked about publicly, probably with your own representative, your own council members on an individual basis, as we should all be doing, and conveying our points, and then asking that the council members become more familiar with what we are talking about here in a public fashion and the decisions that we're making as a body.
Well, I mean, I'm absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous. This is ridiculous to me. Like how this can happen more than one time. I'm appalled. I really am. I'm really upset about this. Because what happens when, this one happened again, and then there was no actions taken or anything, there was no lesson learned about how this situation should not happen. That lesson does not seem to be getting through to everybody. I don't know. Am I the only person that's I mean, we did that one time. That mistake was made once. Fine. First time happened, we fixed it. Let's move on. Next time it happens, and then what else? I mean, next thing I know, somebody gets appointed chair, and then they're making decisions, in somebody's office with the directors of a department. That's bothersome to me. I don't know.
Commissioner Kevanian, if I may, we made the point, so we could probably move on. Let's try to do that. But I think I agree with you in certain aspects, and I made my point also. But there's no point in
it's really an integrity issue. It's an integrity issue, and I feel disrespected. I really do. You guys can move on if you'd like.
Generally,
I'm done.
Commissioners, I just want to clarify one thing that was said. There were no decisions made. None whatsoever. We didn't come close to making any decisions. It was just to further...
Well, Mr.
further
Duran,
hear
I don't
out-
know that.
So, no, we have to respect and believe his word and that there was no decision made. One thing I would really like to see, hopefully, maybe in the next near future, maybe the mayor or another authority, together with the parks and the libraries directors, will have another meeting with a couple of other commissioners also. In addition to the commissioners that they have already met, and that would be probably a very productive thing to learn those point of views also. That might be a suggestion, but again, it's not up to us to decide.
Chairman Lee, Commissioners, one other point. We are working on a staff report, a follow-up report to the last meeting with City Council to discuss the role and responsibility of the Arts and Culture Commission, and that is scheduled to go before the Council on November 15th or 16th, whatever the Tuesday is, which will be another opportunity for commissioners to make comments and speak to this issue. And we will, once that date is confirmed and we have a report has been submitted, we'll notify you and make sure you have a copy of that report.
Then to my defense, I just got a phone call. We're having a meeting. Can you make it? I said, okay, and that was it.
No,
I just want to make sure.
Chairman Lee, my goal is not to attack anybody, and I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. What I'm saying is that situation should not have happened. That group of people in that setting should not have been discussing openly things like that, and that could have gone to a decision-making process. That's all I'm saying.
Next item.
5C reports, information only at 5C1 Maple Park Public Art Project final report.
Okay. This item was tabled from last month's meeting. Since this will be our final report, we have prepared a PowerPoint presentation. Maple Park. All right, thanks. Maple Park is one of the city's oldest and most frequently used neighborhood parks, located in the southeast region of Glendale. The community center, built in 1966, was the first community center in the city's park system. In November 2010, the Community Services and Parks Department, in conjunction with the Maple Park Revitalization Project, created an opportunity for artists to execute public art for the Maple Park community building. Request for qualifications was issued, and an art advisory committee was formed, comprised of one community representative, one member of Arts and Culture Commission, one member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, and 3 city staff. An art advisory committee reviewed the portfolios and identified 14 semifinalists who were then invited back to visit the Maple Park project site to observe the potential sites for the future artwork, the park's surroundings, and the neighborhood and the history of the park. The artists were invited back twice after that, and then the site-specific proposals were presented to the Art Advisory Committee. During the second phase of that selection process, the advisory committee selected 2 concepts. One was by John Joseph Matthews, and the second one by Roger Dolan and Emily Goff team. Both artists are Glendale residents and have a professional experience in the field of public art. John Joseph Matthews grew up in Glendale and has done many public art projects in museums and recreational facilities in the United States and throughout the world. His modern sculpture called A Solar Dance of Color is in installation at the entrance lobby window. It is built of over 600 individual solar panels, colored panels, and it is internally solar powered. John's concept promotes eco-green use of solar power to express art. Roger Dallin and Emily Gove team created the community mural called Trees of Life with the assistance of students from Daly High School at the neighborhood and with the neighborhood children. Trees of Life mural design is inspired by the cross-cultural symbolism of the Tree of Life, an image found throughout the history of civilization. Overlapping branches flow from one tree to the next, illustrating how diverse individuals can come together as one community. As part of the community mural creation process, a Day in the Park event was organized by Roger and Emily at the Maple Park project site on the day of the grand opening. All three artists were in attendance and had an opportunity to talk to the council members, community members, answer children's questions. It was a fun day. Maple Park project was completed in August 2011, and both artworks are installed at the entrance lobby area of the new building, visible to all visitors. This concludes my report.
Comments?
Any further?
I just want to thank everyone that made it possible to be able to have those art installations and have those activities at the park. I just think it's I think it's really exciting. I think it's very cool.
It was a fun project to work with the artists and with the community at the same time. Hopefully in the future we will have other opportunities to do public art in other parks, community buildings as well.
Any comments?
Oh.
Thank you.
Did you forget something? You were going to add something?
No. My next project,
okay. All right.
slideshow is on.
By the way, that was a very good job you did, Ripsima, the public art in Maple Park. Excellent job.
Well, I hope you had an opportunity to go and see the original artworks. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Glendale Arts and Culture website update.
Okay. At the last meeting, we gave the Commission an update about the progress of the Glendale Arts and Culture website. Today, we have prepared our first draft to give the Commission a general idea about what kind of work is involved, how much information has been collected, and how that information will be divided and organized for the Glendale Arts and Culture website. Okay. This one? As you can remember, I can work with this. Originally, we talked about the purpose of the website, and this is going to be an informational site where the city's efforts in promoting arts, investments in the arts, and programs, projects, policies will be exhibited. And as you can see from the sections on the homepage, there are several sections. We'll start with the About Us section, which will have information about the city's arts and culture history, information about the Arts and Culture Commission. And if we click on this, just please remember this is just our very first draft, and the design, we are still working on the design, and we're still collecting information and updating the information also. On the Commission's webpage, you have information about each commissioner, about their duties, membership, and qualifications. There will be a link to our live Commission meetings for the visitors to go and view. Now, it hasn't been decided about how we would like to organize the e-newsletter section. However, I would like to go ahead and show you a sample of a newsletter that was produced. This is our last e-newsletter that was published. And it will have a place where they can sign up to receive the e-newsletter. Now we can move on to the art programs section, which I'm very excited about to talk about this section. It includes not only all the projects that the Arts and Culture Commission is involved in, it also combines information from the other departments. As we all know, the city's other departments are also involved in arts and cultural activities. And the purpose of the website is to have a unified voice and have a singular place, centralized from a centralized location, have all that information accessible to the visitors and benefit the public and the arts community. And the Arts and Culture website will serve to that purpose by creating that easy, accessible opportunity for and be friendly, user-friendly. As of now, we don't have any information for artist opportunities. It's not linked to any programs yet. But the Open Studio Tour, you remember we prepared this last year. We are going to organize and use the artist page, which is more than 168 artist information is on this page, and we can just click, and every one of them are already linked to their website. Okay, we don't want to do that. Now, the programs. Under the programs, as you can see, we have included not only the Commission's programs, also GATE, Unity Fest, Cruise Night, and art classes offered by the Community Services and Parks Department is also included. If somebody is interested in using the visual arts classes or adult classes, will be able to click and get the information directly from the department who is producing these events. Cultural resources section is a huge section that will require a lot of information. We are planning to collect all the cultural resources in our city, an inventory of cultural resources, and organize in a way that will benefit people, visitors, people from outside of Glendale who can come and find information easily about our city's initiatives, about our incentives, policies, relocation programs. Okay, under cultural resources section, we will have cities, galleries, for-profit and non-profit, the museums, theaters and playhouses, music venues, art schools and classes. For example, if we go to the museums page, we have 2 museums. And they are both linked to their source. Okay, the next section will be the public art section. Here I will just go ahead and send you a sample of a page, public art collection, the inventory of cities, public art inventory page. As an example, we have a couple of public art images with an information about big. It's smaller. No? Anyway, currently this public art information is not complete on our city's website, and our plan is to have information about the location of the public art, the name of the artist, and the name of the artwork, and the medium, of course. Most basic information. And it will have a map location also. Under public art section, we will have, we do have right now urban art information, which is handled by the Community Development Department. And we will have public art policies. We do have art donation policies, percent for art policies, art display policies in public places, student art display policies, planning documents. All this information we believe will be beneficial to artists and community members. As a calendar information, as of now, we're not planning to create our own calendar of events. Instead, we will be using the information we have on the city's homepage and the Brand Library calendar, as well as Glendale Arts calendar. Let's see more. Basically, that's about it, because we haven't done anything else for media press releases. We don't know for sure. Again, this is the rough draft of the website. A lot of information has been collected and updated, but we have a lot of work ahead of us. We thought we should share this with you just to let you know how much work has been done or the direction we are heading. And your input will be valuable. This concludes my report.
Comments?
Obviously, this is a great work that you've done, and obviously it is a work in progress. My question is, with this kind of a very nice and comprehensive website, it obviously needs maintenance and updating of the information and the events quite constantly. Do we have the resources to do that?
Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is going to be an informational website, and most of the information will stay there unless we have upcoming event, like the Diamond Award, will be on the homepage as current events. Other than that, it will require low maintenance, almost none. Maybe quarterly or monthly maintenance. It is not going to be a social networking site, and it doesn't need to be updated as often as we want.
If I may comment on it, it's intended, I think, and I'm sitting with Commissioner Kivanian and in the meetings about this, and it's intended to be a fairly static website, so that we're linking to other calendars, we're linking to other departments. So as policies and initiatives and things change and they're updated by those departments, it'll just automatically be reflected. And your concern, I'm assuming concern about, the staff time and budget and such to be able to maintain it was a huge consideration on how that's being put together.
It's a very good idea, and it's a great opportunity for, outreaching the community. So I commend whoever worked on this, and especially Commissioner Dever and Commissioner Kevanian. I know they put a lot of time and ideas into this. It looks good. I'm hoping that, since it is a work in progress, it will just get better and better.
Correct.
I'm very excited about it, for one, and want to thank you, Ms. Marashian, because you've taken, obviously, the lead and the bulk of this with your helper as well. And I just think it'll serve the city well for both the residents and for those just interested in visiting or coming to Glendale.
Yeah.
Next item, commission and staff comments.
Why don't you read it? If it's not long.
Oh, sorry about that. It is a bit long, but let me try to go really fast. Whereas the City of Glendale encourages and welcomes art and humanities in our city, and whereas there is a need to promote and support the arts and humanities in Glendale for the social, economic, and intrinsic value they afford our communities and its residents, be it through literature, theater, dance, fine arts, music, or any other form of creative expression, dialogue, or tangible production. And whereas the City of Glendale and the Arts and Culture Commission recognize the important role our local artists, educators, historians, philosophers, administrators, for-profit and nonprofit art organizations, and creative businesses play in our cultural heritage, economy, education, and individual and collective growth. And whereas, although we celebrate arts and humanities every day through our studies, program, events, exhibition, classes, performance, architecture, etc., October is recognized nationally as National Arts and Humanities Month, the largest annual celebration for the arts and humanities in the nation, and a time when cities and counties from coast to coast commemorate the arts through conscious participation, appreciation, and advocacy. And whereas this month is collectively recognized as a time to encourage all Americans to explore new facets of the arts and humanities and begin a lifelong habit of active participation.
Sounds good.
comments?
Well, if you finished, my colleagues will recall that I was appointed as a liaison with the Glendale Arts and last meeting. So I had a contact with Mr. Barry Macomb, their, I believe, executive director, correct? I'm not quite sure what his position is, but I know he's the leader of that organization. And we had a very nice meeting. The next meeting of the Glendale Arts is on November 4th. So this was not really a meeting with the entire board, but it was between myself as the liaison and Mr. Macomb as their leader. And it was a very nice and fruitful meeting. We kind of updated each other on what's going on in my absence and what potential there is for future cooperation and trying to complement each other and try to fill each other's voids if there are anything, and hopefully to enhance the connection and the organization between Glendale Arts and the Arts and Culture Commission. So it was a very fruitful meeting, lasted nearly an hour and a half, and we were both, at the end of the meeting, we were both enhanced and happy and looking forward to a great cooperation between us and the Glendale Arts. So that was the first little report. Then on October 8th, there was a great exhibition and show and juried exhibition by Glendale Arts Association at the White's Framing and Arts Restoration Gallery in Montrose. There were many artists who were there, participated, juried exhibition featuring paintings, photography, sculpture, and etc. It was a very nice, Ripsime Marashian and myself were there, and we really enjoyed the art displayed and the quality of the artists. And what I would really like to do is to recommend everybody not to miss it. It is on White's Framing and Arts Restoration Gallery on 2414 Honolulu Avenue in Montrose, and the exhibition, which is called the Fall Salon, is going to be on until October 30th. So highly recommended. Then another exhibition which opened in McCurcheon Art Gallery on 117 North Maryland Avenue of contemporary art. There is a lot of writing in here, but for the sake of time, I will skip that. This exhibition is also going on as of now, so I would highly recommend my colleagues and the general public to visit the McCurcheon Art Gallery and enjoy this very nice contemporary art exhibition. On October 14th, there was this great event in Pasadena, Art Night, where 15 different venues were selected, and there were all kinds of different art forms like dance and music and paintings. The Norton Simon Museum participated, the Alliance Française participated, and all kinds of other Pacific Asia Museum was there, and it was really a very nice and very interesting event, just something like our Open Studio Tour but in a much bigger and wider scale. The only problem was it was only for 4 hours between 6 and 10, and rushing to 15 venues in 4 hours was a little bit of a challenge. So, but that was a very nice event, and I would like to, see that happening also in here. 2 or 3 upcoming events. We already talked about the Brand 40 Works on Paper, which is going to go until October 28th. That's almost just over a week from now, in Brand Library and Art Galleries. I highly recommend my colleagues and the public to visit that, because it's really a very interesting exhibition. And of course, Peter Frank is a very well-known art critic and authority in art in Southern California, and if he's the juror, then we could definitely expect very high quality in there. In addition to that, just a reminder that tomorrow in the under the auspices of His Eminence Archbishop Hovnan Derderian, the primate of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church, there is an exhibition organized by the Atanyan Art Center and their students. Mr. Vladimir Atanyan is an incredible artist, and he has won several international awards, and also I think won one of our Diamond Awards in the past. So it is his school. It's a quality school, quality lecturing and instructions. So tomorrow, October 21st, 7 p.m. at the Armenian St. Leon Church in Burbank, which is 3325 North Glenox Boulevard in Burbank. So that's an exhibition not to be missed. And also, just a reminder, Alex Theater, November 12th. The Caravan Dance Studios are going to have another incredibly good performance and show. So we talked about this. I just remind everybody to attend it. That will conclude my report. Thank you.
I just want to mention that I was able to attend the expulsion dance performance that occurred last Saturday. There were two of them, and I just want to thank Glendale Arts and the dance companies and our community involved citizens that have helped to put that program together. I'd love to be able to see more of that type of activation of the downtown area. It was a very cool, three-dimensional, site-specific dance performance.
Okay, and then just as a reminder, LA Opera Talks for fall is Saturdays, 2 p.m., free admission, and that will be November 12th also at the Brand Library. And then we have the Dr. Paul Condonaris on Thursday, October 27th. The Empire of Death, there's an exhibit. And then I want to thank everybody that came out to the Unity Festival. Personally, I saw a lot more patrons than years past. The weather was a tad warm for the first 2 hours, but then it cooled off and it was very good. We had a very interesting kits, or actually a plaything. It's called Aqua Ball. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's actually a big balloon that they inflate with you inside, with the person inside, that they put over a small pool of water that you can roll around, and have oodles of fun in. And I think that is a highly recommended thing to do. It looked very fun. My daughter had a really good ball with it. Turnout was good. We're on Brand Boulevard, so we look forward to everybody's coming out again for next year. The event has been slated for the second weekend of October. So, keep your ears open for the event coming up. At this time, I would also like to thank the U.S. Navy. I was privileged as being selected to ride with the Blue Angels in an F-18 jet fighter. So, the Navy is doing very good work. The Navy is totally different, or the armed forces for the government is totally different from before. For example, if you have a bachelor's degree and you join in, you automatically are an officer. They have positions there that that you can work and not be combat related. So please look into working for the Navy. Thank you. And with that,
Chairman Lee.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, the lone wolf in the audience is Emil Tatavosian. Emil was just hired by the Community Services and Parks Department to replace our project management administrator, Dave Ahern. Emil comes over from the city's Community Development Department. He is a graduate of Cal Poly Pomona. He received his degree in architecture He lives in Glendale, has 3 children and a beautiful wife. His first day in our department was on Monday, and we look forward to many years of Emil's service to our department. Mr. Tatavosian.
Can we ask him to say a few words?
Very briefly, thank you, Mr. Duran. Members of the Commission, I'm excited, obviously, to be with this department. I'm slowly acclimating to my new family and my new home. I have had the privilege of working with each of you in different capacities in the past, and I'm just looking forward to continuing that relationship, and I believe in the power of the art in all aspects, and I hope that we make great things together. Thank you.
Welcome
We're very
aboard.
excited to have you here. I remember your work from the redevelopment agency and the community development and all that, and it has all been outstanding.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
It's very nice to have you on board and have the opportunity to work with you in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Next item.
Item 7, written communications.
We don't have any.
Adjournment.
We are adjourned.